Hello, I'm Lou and welcome to my channel. This week I'm going to be checking out the Miya Himi watercolour pencils. If you don't know Miya Himi, they are most famous for doing jelly gouache, and I have done a video on that. And recently they did a set of oil colouring pencils, which I also did a video on. So if you want to go check those out, you can. And yeah, now they're doing watercolour pencils. I actually found these on Amazon and they were very reasonable. After this video, if you feel like you want to get your own set, I will leave a link in the description below. But yeah, it's really nice to see that they're actually expanding their art range. So in this set there are 48 watercolour pencils, and yeah, I'm gonna play around with them and make some art. Okay, so I've jumped straight into doing the swatching. So I swatch all 48 watercolour pencils. When I opened the set, I was actually pleasantly surprised that they included a watercolour brush. I've had other watercolour pencil sets before and they've never included a brush, so it was really nice to see, quite thoughtful. So thank you, Himi, that's a really good touch. I use the Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolour paper. It's cold press, 300 GSM, and it's a 10 by 7 sheet. So normally I go for like a A5 size, a bit like a scrawler box or up crate, what they would include, but I wanted obviously to do something a bit better. The reason why I wanted tooth, a paper with a bit of tooth, is I really wanted to push the pigment into the paper, and then using the water I wanted to see whether or not the pigment would be soluble, and it would dissolve, because I've had other watercolor sets, pencil sets, where you can still see the pencil marks on the paper, and I really wanted to give this a true test with these pencils. So as you can see, I'm just swatching through these coloured pencils. I have to say these are really nice, vibrant, pigmented pencils. You get a really nice range of colours. They're very bright. They go really well on the paper. There was a couple that were a bit scratchy, but otherwise really nice to work with. I was pleasantly surprised. When it comes to the actual applying the water to these, the pigment, again I was pleasantly surprised. It was like melted butter. It just worked so beautifully with the water. I've never, again, I've had other sets and they just don't dissolve the way you'd want them to on the paper, but these actually do. They also included a silver and gold pencil. They weren't very shiny on the paper, even when it was dissolved like a watercolour, so they weren't very shiny, but again it was nice to have that included. They did include that in the oil colour pencil set as well, so so it seems to be a bit of a theme with Himi, but as you can see I'm just applying the water to the pigment, and considering they're only small swatches, it goes a long way with the water, and you can see how bright and beautiful these colours are. I can't rave about them enough, really. I'm so pleasantly surprised. Of course it's down to actually creating the art and seeing how well they work, like creating a piece, but so far I'm really pleased. So I found a really nice image on Pinterest of a deer and I really wanted to draw it in this video. So you can see me sketching out the head using a Prismacolor colour erase pencil in purple. They're quite good for using in watercolours, however you can use a watercolour pencil as well. That's a good tip, but I really wanted to use the Prismacolor pencil. So as you can see, I'm doing the head and I'm just working out the proportions from the image or the reference that I'm using. And then I kind of work my way down at the body. I really want to think about the shapes, where it is in proportion of the paper, and just to get those proportions correct. Once I'm happy with this sketch, I then rub out lightly with the putty rubber, and then I initially start with the background, but then I decide that I wanted to do the dough first and then the background after. So I actually use a light colour just to apply in lighter areas first. So I'm just literally applying with a dry watercolour pencil in those areas. Using the watercolour brush provided, I then applied to the areas that I'd coloured in, just to dilute the pigment. So once it's dry, I then go in with a slightly darker colour. So I am colouring in areas where I want the darker tones, and then I come in with the watercolour brush again to create those tones and shadows. I keep doing that, so I'm basically repeating each time, building up those layers and those colours.
So I'll throw another log on the fire. Let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn.
at this stage I'm really happy with how the deer is actually coming out. Obviously there's a little bit more to finish with the deer, but I decided to start on the background. So I applied a little bit of the blue, just very lightly, and then applied the water. As you can see, you can't really see the blue on there. The reference that I used actually had a really dark tree trunk behind the deer, but I didn't want that for this painting. I wanted it to be quite light and vibrant, and I wanted a chance to actually use more of the watercolor pencils as well, so get the greens in there, and the blues. So I lightly apply the blue for the sky, and then I start on the grass. So I apply different colours of the green in the set to create depth initially, and texture. So as you can see, I'm just applying the green there, and I'm kind of making it look like the deer is in a field, so you can see the blades of grass close up, but as it goes behind the deer, you can't really see the blades anymore. So I'm trying to make it as fine as possible the further back I go to show depth. Yeah, I'm really liking how it's coming out. I like the textures and the colours that I'm using. So I kind of switch it up a little bit and decide to work on the background. So I start thinking about the trees and the bushes in the back. And normally with depth, the further back you go, the lighter the colour is. So the closer you are, the darker it is, the further back, the lighter it is. So that is basically what I was trying to get with the background. And I'm really enjoying the look of it. To be honest, I think I am slowly kind of building up those layers and creating that depth that I'm looking for. As you can tell, I'm one of those artists where I just get bored and have to move around the drawing. I can't just stay in one place. I just keep moving around. But as you can see, I then work on the grass again. So I'm creating that texture using different coloured pencils, and so I'm just literally doing light little flicks to create that texture of grass. To finish the details, I then come in with a white paint marker. The one I'm using is actually the Le Plume from Marvi. I actually got this from one of the subscription boxes that I'm subscribed to. I'm not entirely sure which one, but it actually worked really well on top of the watercolours. So yeah, it works really well. Overall, I'm really pleased with how this came out. I love it actually. So yeah, so this is just finishing it off and creating highlights as well. So as you can see, I'm starting to create highlights where I've kind of painted over in areas that should be white, but is easily rectified with paint marker, and it just gives it that nice finish, and I think I did really well. Overall, I'm absolutely over the moon with these watercolour pencils. They're probably one of the best I've ever used, and I would definitely recommend. They layer really well, they're vibrant, they're colourful. I can't rate them enough. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed what I've created today. If you do, please do give me a like, share and a subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care. Bye.